Magician!
Hey YouTube, Magician84 here, and this is a similar video to my last one, this time with my screen recording program. This time I'm going to be counting down my top 5 decks that I used to hate. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's just get right into it. Number 5, Infernities. Oh boy, they were so annoying in the 5Ds era of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, they seemed like a cool, fun deck at first, which was overlooked, but when they got the support from the Shining Darkness, oh my god, they got so fucking annoying. Basically, Infernity's launcher and barrier made it so that no one could play the game. Launcher just made it an OTK deck, which of course generally pisses me off because I hate OTK decks. But even if I wasn't getting OTK'd, I'd have everything negated by Infernity Barrier. So yeah, that made this deck pretty much impossible to beat. Like, there was nothing I could do to counter it. Like, not even when Infernity Launcher got limited. Like, limiting it did absolutely nothing. I mean, it could still OTK though, but other times barrier would just be negating everything I do. Just really annoying. It just wasn't a fun matchup whenever I'd go up against it. Sometimes I could beat it though, but whenever I did, it would be by pure luck. Either because the opponent would brick, or in some cases where I was lucky enough to see Royal Decree and have an opportunity to flip it up before launcher gets set. Not launcher. Barrier is set on the field, so that way I can shut it off and stop my stuff being negated. Something I only ever pulled off twice. But yeah, other than that, I had to basically hope the opponent would brick so that I could actually have a chance against this deck. But yeah, it was just really annoying. Up to the point where Infernity Barrier got limited on the April 2014 list. I was like, yeah, I was so happy about that. Like, why couldn't this deck have been touched sooner? So then it didn't become as annoying, although Archfiend was still at 3. And then, of course, that Xyz version of Infernities came along. But I didn't find this too bad, actually. It was kind of cool. We'll say that. But then, of course, that seemed to fall out of favour when Infernity Archfiend went to 1. Another change that was a long time coming. It was like, again, why couldn't that card have been limited sooner? Like, why couldn't these changes have happened on the September 2011 ban list, like back when they were still a thing? Like, right, not as much as a thing as Six Samurais and Tengu Plant, but still, Infernities was still an annoying problem back then. Um, but no, with all those cards limited, I no longer saw a reason to hate them. I actually grew to like them. Or didn't really like that barrier went to free though. But then again, I guess it's fine because, um, well, again, Archfiend is at one, and as long as Launcher stays at one, then Infernities are perfectly fine, and I have no beef with them. Maybe I'll try and make my own version in a deck building challenge video. We'll see. Number 4, Boujins. Yeah, another deck that I really, really used to hate a lot. Um, Seriously, they were just so annoying. Like, they had so many ways to counter things that the opponent did. Um, like, you had one that would banish itself to negate something that targets and then destroys it, or at least I think it destroys it. I forget which one it is. Um, there's one that pops back row, and I'm pretty sure there's one that pops either a monster or a face-up card. I can't remember which one. And then they have Crane and that other one which worked like Honest. Um, I can't remember the name of that one. But yeah, it was just frustrating, and it made them so hard to beat. Like, it was just fuck all ways to counter them. Oh yeah, and it ran Kaiser Coliseum, which is just insult to injury, and one of the most irritating floodgates ever. I'm so glad that got banned 7 years ago, and I hope it never fucking comes back. Um, uh, yeah, it was annoying. The deck was just impossible to beat unless I had Imperial Iron Wall on hand. To stop um, the banish cards. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's like, oh my god, how do you even beat this fucking deck? Plus, I found it kind of bullshit that during that time, Stratos was banned, yet Yamato was at free. Just didn't seem fair. Um, what made it even worse was that it was a strong deck in the meta, and it never got hit. Um, yeah, that just pissed me off so much. None of the 2014 lists just did anything about them. Um, Mind you, by the time Pendulum Era started, they just fell out of favour. Um, like, I even remember one person just starting an argument with me about them and complaining that I was complaining about them. But it's like, it's called an opinion. I have a right to my own opinion. Um, but yeah, like I said, when Pendulum Era started, Fujins seemed to stop seeing play, and then that's when we got Shadows, Tellarknights, Burning Abyss, um, and I guess some, like a few other decks from the format before, but, and then Clifforts came along later on. Um, I mean, then there was one player who did play them in 2015, which was annoying. Would be brought into either 1v1 games or more rumbles, which is annoying. And then after that, like I said, Kaiser Coliseum got banned. And then I went up against them in, I think it was a tour. Yeah, I played them in a tournament in 2017 and found them easier to deal with. Especially considering that Kaiser Coliseum was banned. Trying to remember when Honest went back to free. Um, it's been a while. Because I don't remember if Honest was still limited back then or whether it was semi-limited. Yeah, it just goes to show how much time has passed. I mean, I may have a good memory, but it's not that good. In any case, I just found them a lot easier to deal with. I guess as time went on, they just got kind of power crept, and they just didn't seem as much of a threat now as they were back in 2013 and 14. Number 3, Chaos. Now, I did kind of talk about this already in my last video because I mentioned how the envoys were two monsters that I used to absolutely hate back in the day. And yeah, back then, Chaos was my most hated deck in the game. Uh, Either BLS was banishing my monsters just like that, or Chaos Emperor Dragon was just ending games by clearing the field and hand and wiping out what was left of my life points. In fact, this deck was even a bad matchup for Exodia because I couldn't get all the pieces in time, then it was just game over. And even if I didn't get gained, any Exodia cards would be in the graveyard with fuck all ways to get them back. And then, of course, there was Yatagarasu as well, as I said before. But stupid Yatta lock. But of course, I still hated Chaos, even after Chaos Emperor Dragon and Yatta got banned. And again, I had fuck all ways to counter them. Because I didn't have a lot of great cards to work with. But regardless of which envoy I'd be on the receiving end on, I'd just auto lose. Yeah, it was a deck that just made my life a misery until I got used to BLS and no longer found a reason to hate him. And then, of course, Chaos Emperor Dragon was errated. Anyway, since the first half of 2005, I didn't really see a reason to hate Chaos because I got hold of cards that could help me deal with them, and there are more ways of dealing with Chaos decks than there are today. In fact, Chaos is pretty much non-existent. Not even Chaos Dragons uh, are a thing these days. Um, but yeah, even if it is a thing, there's just so many worse decks in the game nowadays that only exist to piss everyone off. Number 2, Windups. Yeah, remember when they were a thing? Now they did look cool to start off with. I did like the idea of an archetype based on wind-up boys. But then, since early 2012, they got really fucking annoying because Wind Up Hunter exists. Um, with the support that they got from Order of Chaos, it basically became a hand loop deck and became a deck that I absolutely hate a lot. It was just annoying that it wasn't preemptively hit on the March 2012 list, one of the worst ban lists ever, which led to one of the worst formats ever. I mean, there are some players with a hard on for Dark World who may have loved that format, but I fucking hated it purely because of Dark World and Windups. Two decks that were big in the meta. Yeah, there was also Chaos Dragons, Dino Rabbit, and Insectors, but I didn't have a problem with those decks. Like, my beef was with Windups and Dark World. Dark World I've already ranted about like a million times, or at least that's what it feels like. But Windups just really pissed me off because of their loop. It was like, why did Hunter not get banned? Like that card was the problem back then. It was just irritating having cards taken out of my hand before I had a chance to use them, and then not being able to do anything afterwards. Um, and it was just laughable that there was one wind there who thought who blindly defended this deck and thought he could justify this bullshit, and yeah, tried to defend the deck by saying, "Oh, but you can easily top deck out of it." Although my counter argument was, some players can't top deck out of it though. If they get a dead draw, then it's game over. Um, like even limiting wind up carrier Zen Mighty didn't really do much to slow them down. Yeah, it stopped them being able to loop, but then it became an OTK deck, which was no better. Um, Along with the fact that it could make Shockmaster easily, just to add insult to bloody injury. Um, so yeah, um, that format was pretty much a wind up OTK format. That is the September 2012 format. Um, yeah, it was just annoying, and I think by that point, Hunter wasn't even the problem anymore. Um, and I was just so happy when Wind Up Carrier Zen Mighty got banned, and with that card banned, it meant that wind-ups could no longer OTK and no longer hand loop. And ever since then, it's been a perfectly fair and balanced deck. Whether wind-up magician was at 1, 2, or 3. Um, Either way, since wind-up carrier Zen Mighty got banned, I've not had a reason to hate wind-ups ever since, and I've grown to like them. Thought they were pretty cool. Now they hardly ever see play anymore. But fingers crossed and touch wood that carrier never ever comes back, because I don't want to deal with their OTK or their hand loop ever again. Number one, Malefics. Yeah, this one seems really random, I know, but yeah, there was a point like um during the second half of 2014 and like the first 3 months of 2015 where I fucking hated Malefics. Uh, Probably not because of what. Well, Well, mainly because of what they did to me when I was playing Dark Magic Swarm in that tournament. Now, I have told this story 3 times already in like 2 Q&As and my 2014 history video, but in case you didn't um, see those, I'll go over it again. Um, yeah, they did me in a tournament game that I felt I shouldn't have lost because I was playing a Light Sworn deck, um, again in the form of Dark Magic Sworn. Alright, it wasn't a typical Light Sworn deck, but still, the concept was still there. So I won game one with not no problems, but in game two, I got stuck behind a field of Malefic Cyber End Dragon, Mound of the Bound Creator, and Skill Drain. Skill Drain royally fucked me over big time, and I had fuck all ways to get rid of Malefic Cyber End because of the protection from Mal. In fact, I had to stall behind Colossal Fighter, which I was somehow able to make under Skill Drain, um, and Necro Gardener. The problem was, every time Colossal Fighter was destroyed by battle and resurrected, I'd take 1,000 points of damage from Mal, and I was desperately trying to get to MST and hope that I'd draw it so I could get rid of Skill Drain, but I just wasn't drawing it. And then I had to scoop, and then by the time game 3 started, time on the round had been called, so it was the 4-turn rule. So I went first, did something, then my opponent dropped Malefic Cyber End and a different field spell, did a ton of damage to me. Now, on my next turn, turn 3, I did have a way to get rid of Malefic Cyber End, which was with Starleech Paladynamo. The problem was, I would have been only able to do 2,000 points of damage, and I couldn't get my life points higher. So I was trying desperately to think of a way to do more damage, but nothing was coming to me. So I had to scoot. Um, so yeah, I got screwed by a combination of skill drain, end of match procedure, and bad luck. This is one of the reasons why I hate end of match procedure. I was so annoyed and salty about that loss. If I had more time, I'm pretty sure I would have been able to win. But that wasn't the case. Even though I did win 2 matches that day, I was still annoyed over this, along with the fact that I didn't do that well in general. So I stopped playing Dark Magic Sworn for good because that deck was a failure. And up until the point when Skill Drain got limited, the April 2015 list, I absolutely hated Malefics, just because of the way it was played and the fact that I was pretty much luck sacked. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. He only won because of skill drain and end of match procedure. If it wasn't for those, I'm sure I would have won the match. Um, but anyway, the point is, when skill drain got limited, I grew to like Malefics again and just didn't see a reason to hate them. And I've not hated them ever since. It was just kind of shocking and annoying that I lost to a deck that should be easy to beat. Um, in fact, there's lots of ways to easily beat Malefics nowadays. there's more backrow removed now than there was back in 2014. So that's something. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this list. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and a comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't subbed already. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Magician YouTube channel.